You've tuned into Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. Your access to success strategies and more to help you move onward and upward with your life. Listen in each week as she interviews others who have really taken their essence to the next level and truly unpaused their life. Now here's your host, Dr. Callie Estes.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Dr. Callie Estes, and I am founder of the Addictions Academy, the Addictions Coach, and Rehab Rescue. Welcome to Unpause Your Life. This is a great podcast where we showcase people who have done something extraordinary with their life. I welcome you, and I hope you enjoy all of our guests.
On my way, found a reason to wake up another day.
Hey everybody, you are listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes of the Addictions Coach and the Addictions Academy. Very excited for my guest today. Dr. Lori Shemek is with us, and she is a leading fat cell researcher, health expert, weight loss expert, keynote speaker, and recognized authority on inflammation and its role in weight loss, preventing disease and optimizing health. She is the best-selling author of How to Fight FATflammation and the best-selling author of Fire Up Your Fat Burn. She is a health expert for ABC TV's Good Morning Texas, and she's been featured pretty much everywhere. The Doctor, CNN, NPR, Fox, Oprah, Dr. Oz, etc., etc. She is known as the Inflammation Terminator and has made it her mission to help clients lose weight and educate the public on the toxic effects of certain foods and lifestyle choices and how they create inflammation in the body, resulting in weight loss and poor health. Welcome, Dr. Lori.
Thank you, Callie. It's so great to be here. I've really been looking forward to this. So, we connected, about a month ago or so on my podcast, and you were absolutely fantastic. And so this really was a nice gift, again, to connect with you. So thank you.
I had so much fun on your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. We loved having you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And I think we have some similar views. So why don't you tell our audience what you do and how you became the Inflammation Terminator, which I love that.
So what I do is I'm a health expert, nutrition expert, weight loss. I help my clients lose weight and optimize their health. And I work on behavioral change. I work on mindset change. And I write a lot. I have 2 books out, Fire Up Your Fat Burn and How to Fight FATflammation. And I write articles and in the process of writing a book right now on the ketogenic diet. So I never thought I'd be a writer, but here I am writing away. So I grew up in a single family, with a single mother, and my poor mother had a constant stream of different health conditions. And unfortunately, my mother made choices that weren't healthy for her. So she smoked a pack and a half of cigarettes a day. She was extremely overweight, verging on obese. She was under chronic stress. You can imagine trying to raise 3 young children, of which I was the oldest, on your own. She had no family, no husband, no money.
Wow.
And so you can imagine her quality of life and our quality of life, right? Mm-hmm. So she was pretty much an absent parent, and I took the responsibility of taking care of my 2 younger brothers. And, I remember walking into my mother's dark room often and just seeing her laying there suffering. And, and I knew intuitively that she could make different choices, because, you just, as a child, better, but being that young, you don't have the authority to recommend anything.
Right.
So, she continued with her lifestyle choices, and slowly her health deteriorated, and she died at the very young age of 36.
Oh, wow.
And because we had no family, we had nowhere to go. So we all three were separated, and they found my father, and he took my middle brother, and my youngest brother, Lance, went to live with a friend's daughter. Okay. And I went with my grandparents in Texas. And so, we were never to live together again, and yet we were very close and in touch. But, and I bring this up only to show people that the choices that they make really have an influence, not just on their health and their mindset, right, and their behavior, but also to other people in their world. Okay. Had my mother chosen different or made different choices, things may have been different. And it's really sad because so many people like my mother throw their hands up in the air, are overwhelmed, and they feel as if this is their lot in life. This is the hand they've been dealt, and they feel that they don't have any options when in fact they really do. So that is why I went into the field of doing what I'm doing. I knew I wanted to help people understand that they do have choice in life. That was my goal, that they don't have to give up and surrender. And also, I was always interested in health. And so, even as a 9-year-old, 8-year-old girl, you'd see me just reading medical books or, nutrition books. If somebody told me something was healthy for me, I just scarf it up and eat it up. So the combination of the two led me to helping at-risk families with an organization called Family Outreach. And I eventually I went from being a counselor for the families to the vice president of the organization. And I remember I would give my clients new food choices to make. I'd actually write out a menu for them. And it was truly astonishing to see how powerful that food was on the way they acted, on their health, the choices that they made, the elevation in spirit, and even their children's health changed. So eventually I decided to create my own business, and I went back to school. I received my doctorate in psychology and then went back to school to become a nutritionist. And then again, I got my certification as a life coach and went into helping other people improve their lives via their health and mindset. And so that's where I am today. I focus on reversing low-level inflammation in the body because that type of inflammation is the core underlying cause of most illness, disease, faster aging, and weight gain. And that's where I got the name, the Inflammation Terminator.
That's so interesting you say this. And first I want to commend you. You came from, a tough upbringing to bring yourself where you are. And,
Thank you.
You're well known and you've done such a great job. It's not easy. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
In terms of inflammation, it's so interesting. My mother, and we talked about this on your podcast, was, the binge eater, the food addict, and she ended up with all these health problems. And I sent her to a naturopath, and the underlying thing he said to her was inflammation. Inflammation causes illness. Inflammation causes disease. And we end up, as a society, we don't treat the inflammation. We treat the disease that's come from the inflammation.
Exactly. Instead of finding the core underlying cause of something, we just treat, obviously, it's the Band-Aid syndrome, right? We just treat it with a Band-Aid. You have high cholesterol, take this statin. Why do you have high cholesterol? Sometimes maybe even that's not so bad. It may be protective. And so, that's the problem with Western medicine, that they don't look for the core cause. Now, if you go to a functional medicine specialist or physician, they will root out the core cause, and that's exactly what we want. And more physicians are gravitating towards that field because it's really the right way to do it. Now, there's a place for Western medicine in terms of emergency care, acute care, right? if you have pneumonia, you need those antibiotics, and you break a leg. But more times than not, if you have, an earache, they'll give you antibiotics when you really don't need them.
Right.
Or a cold or whatever.
That's what got me so sick. When I was growing up, I was allergic to cigarette smoke, but they didn't know that. And my father was a chain smoker. So he would smoke. Oh,
no.
Yeah. In the house, he was smoking in the car.
Oh, no.
And I had sinus problems. I had ear problems. So in and out of the ear doctor, I had tubes in my ears, tubes out. I'm completely deaf in my right ear, and all my teeth fell out.
Oh, no.
And the only solution was the antibiotics. So I was on antibiotics from birth to 14. And I got my first root canal at 14, and I had 17 cavities. I'll never forget that. And I was
Callie.
devastated. And my mother, to this day, she's like, well, it's not from the antibiotics. I'm like, yes, it is. It destroyed my body, destroyed my gut. And I metastasize food completely different from other people. If I have half a glass of wine, I'm lit. And people don't realize that. They say, well, just half a glass of wine. I'm like, well, I don't have, I have permeated colon. I have all the garbage from all that stuff.
And you may be lacking a special enzyme that helps to metabolize alcohol. There's an enzyme. Yeah, Asian people are lacking this enzyme as well. Many Asian people.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to talk further about that off air, but I just find it fascinating how modern medicine doesn't stop and say, well, why are her ears like that? Why is she having sinus problems? What's happening in the house? Is there mold? Is there smoke? It's just, you have an ear infection. Here's an antibiotic.
Yeah. The same thing happened to me as well. It was a constant stream of ear infections. And guess what? Everyone around me, now that you're saying this, I remember, was smoking back then. And this day and age, you don't see that as much, but back then, smoking was the thing. And so you look at all those older movies, and almost everyone in those movies smokes, Yeah.
To this day, if you go to my grandmother's house in Pottstown and look up, the tiles are yellow on the ceiling.
And I can't believe you're saying that.
Yep, they're yellow from everybody in there would sit around and smoke. It's what they did.
I went to visit my grandmother. My grandfather went in the hospital, so I went to stay with her and take care of her. And she was a chain smoker, and terribly so, where I had to just leave the room to breathe, right? And after she died, we took her painting, not her paintings, these little sketches, and they would take the glass off, and they literally took a razor blade and just sheared off all of the tar.
Wow.
From all of the smoke, and her ceiling as well. I started to clean her ceiling for her, and then I went, forget it. It was just unbelievable. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And the same thing in my house. My mom started ripping down the wallpaper, and the house was built in the 40s, and it's layer after layer. And when you get back to the last layer, it's yellow. And I just said to her, I'm like, that's so disgusting. Like, how do you live in a house like that? And she said, that's what they did back then. That was culture. That was, you came over, you smoked, you left the windows closed. And, now we know it causes cancer and it does all these things. But I mean, I think our culture drives what we do, and our culture drives what we tolerate.
Right. And the culture at large listens to, responsible bodies, and those are air quotes, that say smoking is okay for you, even though they knew that it caused cancer, for example. And, one of the similar situations that's happening now is cell phone use, and everyone's pretty much in denial about it, including myself. I really don't want to give it up,
Yeah.
But again, here we know what the truth is about, and it's coming out more and more. Like even those earbuds, that people are wearing.
Oh yeah.
There's a petition that it just went out with the top 250 scientists around the world, making it, they want it known. They want people to know how dangerous this is. And, anyway, it's like, attaching an antenna to your head, really. But, here we have people, we have, bodies of responsible organizations that are saying it's okay. It's not going to hurt you, you know. And so that's what we all want to believe, right? Yeah, we don't want to give up our cell phone. Who does? It's so convenient and wonderful. But the truth is the truth, and it's coming out more and more.
Well, think about just this. I don't have kids, but I watch people on Facebook pack their kids' lunches. And I see sandwiches on white bread with lunch meat, followed by chips in a bag, followed by ding-dongs, ho-hos, and whatever other little candy cake there is, and a juice box. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, there's not one piece of food in that lunch. It's all food-like product. There's no banana, there's no apple, there's no grapes. Everything is processed food. And they send them off to school, and these kids can't sit still. They're jumping around, and then they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, they have ADHD. And I'm thinking to myself, no, they don't. They have garbage to eat. If they're going to eat garbage,
right,
they're going to act like that.
That's really true.
I want to hear your opinion on that. So our listeners, they get tired of me saying that. I want to hear what you think, because you're the expert.
Well, you know I agree with you. But it is. I see that. And a lot of people, even though the mothers are trying their best to feed their children healthy, they're giving them food, and they feel like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a mother. They may not know that in those bread slices lies 2 tablespoons of sugar, right? And it's bumping up their children's blood sugar level. And when that happens, you're causing low-level inflammation. The juice is even worse, okay, in a way, because it's fructose. And fructose plays havoc with, especially if you have an excess amount of sugar and fructose in your diet. The liver is your largest fat-burning organ. It's the organ you must take care of in order to optimize, to keep your health, to keep healthy, and to allow it to do its job of removing toxins out of the body. But because people are eating the way they're eating now, children and adults are coming. They actually have, and the majority of them do not realize it. They have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and children have it, which is ungodly. It's unheard of that a child would have this, but it's all related to the types of foods that they're being fed, that they're eating. So the white bread, or even whole wheat bread, is high in sugar, and it's really important to eat bread that doesn't have any sugar. But the transition to that kind of bread is challenging, especially when you have children, right? But it is something that needs to be done. Bread without sugar, you can find it. There are some that out there that our children do like, so it's important to just look at the ingredient list. But the sugar is very important. There are processes that go on in the body when you ingest sugar that, again, they not only affect the function of tissues within the body, all the organs in the body, the skin, your skin, wrinkles and sagging skin all come about because of a process called glycation. So you all know the brown crispy potatoes on the stove. That crispy part is called glycation. It's the browning effect, essentially, caramelization. And that same process happens in the human body. So when you eat sugar, proteins and sugar, they attach, and it changes the function and nature of the tissue in the body. So imagine doing this every day of your life. You would eventually pay you would pay for this in the end, because you're eating foods that are processed, that are not good for you. The body doesn't know what to do with processed foods. When you ingest sugar, it's like, well, what do we do? Okay, well, let's just store it right now because we don't know what to do with it. So our fat cells get packed with sugar, our liver gets packed with sugar. And again, if you're trying to lose weight, sugar, glucose, the liver, it can't hold a lot of glucose, right? So then goes to the muscle cells. The muscle cells can't hold a lot of it. We end up storing whatever it's circulating, and it's all stored up. Okay. So the liver that is now, holding all this sugar is really becoming unhealthy. And if you see two pictures side by side, a healthy liver and one that's packed with glucose and other compounds, you will see a marked difference. And what you don't want that. You want your liver to be healthy. You want your liver to be able to do what it's supposed to do. And so anyway, back to the children. That's what's happening to our children right now when they're fed white bread, even whole wheat bread, juice, chips, and that's your typical lunch, maybe some jam on that bread, or cold cuts with sugar in them. You just have to be really careful about what you're eating. You must read the ingredient list. That's all there is to it.
I teach classes for adults to become recovery coaches, food addiction coaches, etc. And the one thing I make them do, it's a 48-hour class, so it's 5 hours each day, is in between the two classes, they have to go sugar-free. And these are adults. These are people 18, I think my oldest one was 75. And when I say I want you to go sugar-free for 24 hours, you would think I asked them to do like some insurmountable thing they could never do. It's the same reaction. They all look at me like, I can't do that. And I always say, well, why not? Well, everything has sugar in it. And I had one lady say to me, she's like, well, I don't like the taste of the food without sugar. And I said, it's not supposed to be sweet. Certain foods are not meant to be sweet. Bread should not be sweet. It's not
exactly
designed for that.
Exactly.
What am I supposed to eat? I said, you want something sweet? Eat a banana. And she goes, well, that's not sweet. I said, then your taste buds are off, because somebody who doesn't eat sugar, when they eat a banana or grapes, it's very sweet. And it should be. And then when you have a piece of cake, it's sickening sweet. That's how you know it's too sweet.
And that's how you know when you finally kicked sugar to the curb as well. I was addicted to sugar in my early 20s when I was going to school, and I got off it. And I was able, because I knew that I was addicted, and I knew I didn't want that in my life. I did not want to be chained to that food. I felt I had to have it every day, and that's not good. And so, getting off sugar was like one of the best things I ever did. It's very liberating. But I remember when I would, even to this day, I don't have sugar in my diet very rarely. When I eat sugar, it's like cake or something like that. It's beyond, like you said, sickeningly sweet. And that's a good way to describe it. But what happens, your taste buds actually do change. They transition, and every 3 days we have new taste buds develop. And so if you've been off sugar for even a couple days, you're going to see a huge difference in the way things taste. And salt is the same way.
It's interesting you said that. My husband is like the junk food king. Like, he can literally eat Burger King, McDonald's. It doesn't affect him. We get our blood work done.
I remember you saying that.
Oh my God. His blood work's perfect. And so I made him go junk food free. No fast food, no nothing. And the first day, he was like horrified. He's like, what am I going to eat for breakfast? I'm like, egg whites. And he just looked at me. He's like, that's gross. I'm like, well, you're going to eat it anyway. So he did. And he got off of it. And I said, now I want you to go to the Burger King drive-thru and get the garbage you normally get, your, burger and your French fries and your Diet Coke, and tell me how you feel. And he goes, I'll be fine. And he went. He called me 20 minutes later after he ate, and he goes, I feel sick. And I said, tell me how sick you feel. He goes, I'm tired. He goes, I can't think. He goes, I was trying to describe something, and the word I'm looking for is blue. He goes, I couldn't remember the word blue all of a sudden. And I said,
oh, wow.
How many chemicals are in that food? And he goes, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, it's not meat. It's a meat-like product. They're putting ammonia in it. They're putting bleach in it. You're ingesting this stuff. It's going to impact how you think and how you feel. And he goes, I want to lay down and take a nap. He goes, or I want to throw up. And I'm like, well, honestly, throwing up might be the best thing you can do, because it's going to take you a while to process the food. So fast forward to the next day, I said, how do you feel? He goes, I still feel funny. He goes, I still feel cloudy. And I said, that's the chemical.
Wow.
24 hours later. It took him 48 hours to purge the garbage. And he finally said,
Yeah, and a lot of those toxins are stored in the fat cells, in our fat. And that's not good. So when you do detox and say it does get released, it does cause some uncomfortable manifestations.
Oh, yeah. This is
Yeah.
so interesting. So tell me a little bit about the new book you have coming out. What's that about?
Well, it's going to be a guide on helping people, navigate through the ketogenic diet, different types of intermittent fasting, and how maybe combining them is actually more conducive, say, to women over 40. So if you're menopausal or men that are over 40, and you have stubborn belly fat, the older we get, our hormone levels change, and we then have, our metabolism slows down, and we do have stubborn, resistant weight. And so the one thing that I have found is intermittent fasting combined with a ketogenic diet or some very low carb eating routine. Okay. It doesn't have to be ketogenic, but this book is going to be more of a guidebook with many recipes in it for people to help them make better choices. But it's interesting because people always say to me, well, isn't a ketogenic diet like an Atkins diet? And I always say, no, it's not at all. The Atkins diet was high protein, and the ketogenic diet is a moderate type of protein. So, there is a transition, just like there is in any type of healthy eating, where, you go from a really carb dependent, glucose dependent diet, such as junk food, or whatever, and then you go to a healthier diet. You're not going to have as much carbohydrate intake, right? And so your cells are dependent upon that glucose, literally. And when they're not getting it, they're going to be forced to using your own fat for fuel. And when the liver breaks down that fat, you create what's called an energy body called ketones. And these ketones are powerhouses, I'm telling you, not just for weight loss, but for brain health, for reversing inflammation, for more athletic ability, tamping down on appetite. It is truly a wonderful way of eating. But the problem is many people cannot sustain the ketogenic diet very long. And so what has been found through research is that when you combine the ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting here and there, it is more powerful, and you don't have to do all of it all the time. So you do intermittent fasting a couple days a week. You do ketogenic food choices most of the time, and you're good to go. You can cycle in and out of more carbs, less carbs. So that's the way to do it. And in fact, that's the way we were genetically programmed to do it anyway, because you think about our ancestors roaming around hunting, right? They sometimes had a lot of carbohydrates, like they found a big bush of berries, or they found a beehive with a lot of honey in it. That's a lot of carb intake at once.
I want to stop for 1 second. So many people don't realize fruits and vegetables are carbohydrate. And they say, well, that's a good vegetable.
Point. Yes, you're right.
So I have to have a rice, or I have to have a potato, or I have to have bread, because that's what we had in the 40s and 50s. We had a meat, we had a starch, and we had a vegetable. And they don't realize that the vegetables contain carbohydrates. So I find that in itself interesting. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And so it's important for people to know that your carbohydrate intake should mostly come from vegetables, and non-starchy vegetables at that, if you're serious about it. If you just want vegetables, high intake of vegetables with starchy vegetables, that's fine, but chances are your weight won't fall off as easily, depending upon your activity level. So if you're an athlete, yes, it probably will, but, and plus they could benefit from the added glucose, depending on how strenuous their activity is. But what your end goal is to be metabolically flexible. So if, say you've been doing low carb and you've maybe you've been intermittent fasting 3 times a week, then you have a sweet potato. Your body can handle that without you even coming out of ketosis, right? So that's your end goal, is to become metabolically flexible. And it's easy to do once you know how to do it the right way.
Awesome. Well, we are out of time, I'm sad to say, but tell our listeners how they can find you. And
okay, you can find me. Thank you. You can find me at drloryshemek.com, and you can find both of my books on Amazon, How to Fight FATflammation and Fire Up Your Fat Burn. And I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram as Lori Shemek, Dr. Lori Shemek on Facebook, and Lori Shemek on Twitter. And every day I post all over the place healthy tips for leading a healthy, optimized life.
Awesome. And we will post that up for all the listeners right up on the website, so you will have everything to access Dr. Lori. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us, and we will put you in touch with her as well. Thank you so much for coming.
I also have a newsletter.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yes, I also have a newsletter for those that are interested with a book, Metabolism Masterclass. So when they sign up for the book, or the newsletter, they get the book. So it's
awesome.
Right there on my landing page. Yeah.
Perfect. We'll put that all up and direct them over to your landing page.
Wonderful. It
And
was
thank
wonderful.
you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
You're very welcome.
Kelly.
You guys have been listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. Have a great day, guys. Hey, everyone. Thanks again for listening. I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Head on over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and leave a comment or review of what you think. Or contact us at 1-800-706-0318. If you want to be on our show, feel free to email or call. And if you have a topic, feel free to email or call as well.
Thanks for listening to Unpause Your Life. For show notes and more, head on over to unpauseyourlife.com.
Big shout out to recoveryinnovators.com for help producing this show. Thank you, guys.
I took a walk down the long road where they said that I shouldn't go. On my way found a reason to wake up another day. But they needed to show you all the things that you won't do. Find faith or religion, but nothing to show for it. No need to escape in love with my pain. I may be weak, but I'm alive, still alive, and I won't be bound by your mistake. No, I won't be your enemy, trapped at the gate. Bring me to life, put me to death. Just give me something that's just not so hard to believe. To believe. To believe. I took a walk down the dark road where they said that I shouldn't go. I knew the dangers of flying. Now I'm so far